strategic direction for the agriculture sector. Mr. Speaker, at some point, we established one super agency called the AFA, Agriculture, Food, Fisheries Authority. And that was established during the Mwai Kibaki days. It was hailed as a solution or as a vehicle that would take us to Vision 2030. And Vision 2030 and this Vision Singapore, Mr. Speaker, are not too far apart. But we have torn apart what we established under AFA. The first sector to devolve from AFA was fisheries. I was in this house, Mr. Speaker, when we, in 2016, sponsored the Fisheries Management and Development Act, because we felt that AFA was not providing that visibility and that special care for fish farmers in this country. Mr. Speaker, even though we've got a very elegant piece of legislation supported by regulations, we established the Kenya Fisheries Service, we established the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority, we established a Fish Research Institute, we even established a Fish Levy Fund. Today, Mr. Speaker, that legislation has not been fully implemented, and we are still stuck on regulations. And that is why I was quite keen to see that we are not leaving too much to regulations in this particular proposal. Because when you leave too much to regulations, the regulation-making entities sometimes take too long to bring regulations to this house. And so they render the hard work of senators and members of National Assembly to be useless for lack of regulations. After fisheries, Mr. Speaker, tea devolved. Cotton devolved. Senator Beth Siengo brought a cotton industry development bill. And Mr. Speaker, what was unfortunate was after this House had painstakingly gone through the cotton industry development bill, and you know, Senator Morango has just reminded me that 30% of Kenya's soil is called black cotton soil. So it tells you that in 30% of this country, we could be growing cotton. Instead of importing cotton from Egypt to feed the industries in Athi River that take things for AGOA in the United States, it is possible for us to produce cotton. And so, Speaker, what did the Cabinet Secretary do? The Cabinet Secretary then initiated a presidential memorandum to say that it is not part of the government's strategic policy direction to establish additional state corporations. And as a result, the presidential memorandum was asking Parliament to undo whatever the cotton industry development bill was proposing. And Mr. Speaker, for those of us who hail from areas with black cotton soil, the question was, when we were divesting tea from AFA, there was no problem about state corporations. When we were divesting dairy, there was no problem about too many state corporations. When you are divesting sugar, when you are divesting other products, why is it that when you are divesting cotton, that is when there's concern that there's crawl, there's too much, there are too many state corporations being established? Mr. Speaker, I hope that we're not going to get those kind of arguments in this particular case, because the Coffee Board of Kenya, the Coffee Research Training Institute, one might consider them to be additional state corporations. But Mr. Speaker, the impact they have on the economy of our country must not be looked at from the simple lens of additional CEOs or additional drivers or additional bureaucracy. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the economic impact of coffee, and if you look at what we used to do in coffee and what we can do, it does not matter whether you set up some institute or you set up some board, because if it brings proper alignment of that sector, the benefits are going to outstrip the cost. Mr. Speaker, so this is one conversation that the national government should have with the Senate. We would be very happy to review the sessional paper on agriculture. In 2021, there was a policy statement on agriculture sector that was brought to this House. But Mr. Speaker, you know that 2021 and the administration that is in place right now, the priorities might have changed. I was quite happy when I listened to the President when he addressed Parliament not too long ago, when he talked about his new focus. And he talked about food security. He talked about making sure that we harvest water, we put up these super dams, we take advantage of large-scale agriculture. Yes, that is important, but we must also focus on the smallholders. And so I believe that this is part of the President's focus, and the CS for agriculture should make it easy by coming here, explaining the government's policy on agriculture, and we can bring the Council of Governors on board. Those are the kind of conversations we'd love to have with the governors. Mr. Speaker, as I wind down my reply, we have, I've already said that let's not leave too much to regulation. It is becoming a concern not just in Kenya, but across the Commonwealth. It is now being referred to as skeleton legislation, that members of parliament have become so lazy that they will do the skeleton, and for the flesh, they will leave it to the cabinet secretaries or to the regulators. Mr. Speaker, that can pose a problem, because a number of the regulations, we have seen regulations that have taken force without coming to parliament. But on the other hand, we have also seen cases where parliament requires regulations be brought within a certain time frame, and that is not done. And Mr. Speaker, I recall there was one piece of legislation we passed, or we debated in this House. It was part of the NADCO bills that was going to put clear timelines and provide clear consequences to regulation-making entities that do not do what they need to do in good time. Mr. Speaker, the CS in charge of cooperatives, CS Oparanya, has been walking around talking to cooperatives and trying to revive coffee cooperatives. Of course, there's still the issue of outstanding loans that some of these cooperatives hold. But Mr. Speaker, CS Oparanya, for those of us who have met him in his office and in other events, has made it clear that there was a colonial notion that coffee could only grow in certain parts of the country. There was this colonial notion that even tea could only grow in areas called the White Highlands. Mr. Speaker, Homa Bay County is a coffee producer. In the year 2023-2024, we produced 629 bags. And Mr. Speaker, 629 bags fetched our farmers close to 20 million. And if you look at the value per bag, it's almost 10 times the value you're getting from maize. Some parts of this country, due to many, many reasons, due to a colonial mindset, Mr. Speaker, some parts of this country are still stuck with what we call poverty crops. Senator Morango has just simulated to me how a coffee farmer on 1 acre can make 1 million shillings a year. We who come from the sugar belt, Senator Beatrice Ogola and I, Senator Ogola, you know that what you call a successful sugarcane farmer, for you to make 300,000 shillings per acre a year, you have to be extremely lucky. Why are some regions of this country stuck with poverty crops while the real cash crops are still left in certain small pockets of this country? Mr. Speaker, we need to democratize agriculture. And democratizing agriculture is by ensuring that where the soil agrees with a certain crop, we allow the people in that area to produce that crop. One thing I know about Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, and when I talk about Kenyans, I can talk about my parents, I can talk about my family, I can talk about my kinsmen. If today you told them that if you grow an avocado tree, at the end of the year you are going to make a super profit, they will grow it. If you tell them to rear quail, they will do it. If you tell them to do macadamia or whatever it is, they will do it. All you need to do is to prove to them that there's going to be a return on their investment and there's going to be a certain market at the end of the day. The reason why we are stuck with sugarcane, which is a poverty crop, is that at least you know that in my case, Sukari Industries is going to take your sugar. You know that there's a local miller close by who's going to take your sugar. So it's better than nothing. But a lot of our farmers, they have land, and they have land that is rich. They have land that has got what we call in Swahili rotuba. A lot of our people, a lot of the parts of this country that have been classified as poor, we are not poor because of lack of natural resources. We are poor because what is ascribed to us, what is brought to us, what is promoted in our eyes are things that perpetuate poverty rather than things that get us out of that vicious cycle of poverty. And so, Mr. Speaker, I hope that this board, because it's supposed to have a function on regulation, development, and promotion of coffee in this country, that they are not going to restrict themselves to the colonial White Highlands, that they are not going to restrict themselves to the areas that were defined in sessional paper number 10, that they're going to look at this entire country and any corner of this country where coffee can be grown. They are going to promote the growing of coffee in those areas. Mr. Speaker, I also hope that the board will not just be focused on export, production and export. It is embarrassing, Mr. Speaker, that when we go to supermarkets and we buy coffee, the coffee in the cans and the coffee that has been packaged, sometimes you cannot tell where it originated from. When you buy a packet of Nescafe, Mr. Speaker, sometimes it is coffee that was planted in your backyard, behind your house, but it travels thousands of kilometers to be processed in a foreign country, and travels again thousands of kilometers back for it to be sold to you using global supply chains that make the price then triple, not even triple, the price doubles in the order of hundreds. Mr. Speaker, why can't we produce our own coffee? Aliko Dangote in Nigeria is proving that Africans are smart. It's just that we just have this mindset. Mr. Speaker, the one in Swahili and in quote, kasumba ya ukoloni. We have an inferiority complex. Mr. Speaker, they are able to refine their oil in Nigeria. Many years ago, it was thought that was impossible. When even here in Kenya, we had a Kenya petroleum refinery. There's a time we used to refine petroleum in this country. Mr. Speaker, today, we are producing oil in Turkana, and, well, the motion will come before this House, but we are not having conversations on refining it. We are having conversations on exporting it. I hope that this Coffee Board of Kenya and the Coffee Research Training Institute, working together within this framework that this House has approved, will not just focus on exports, will not just focus on an exchange who, true to the name, exchanges value, takes away from Africa and takes our produce to far off lands for it to come back in very exaggerated pricing. Mr. Speaker, beyond value addition at the micro level, because county governors still have a responsibility. And I'm happy that in the bill, the responsibility of county governors or county governments has been clearly defined. In fact, I'm very happy that unlike in the fisheries space, where there is confusion on who should collect which license, we didn't provide that clarity, Mr. Speaker, because the Constitution has got two words, fishing and fishery. And Mr. Speaker, the Constitution says that fishery is a national government function, but fishing is a county government function. It has created serious confusion, coupled with delays in regulation, that you'd find that a fisherman would be paying taxes to the national government and to the county government. You find someone doing a small cage fish farming thing in Lake Victoria pays taxation to both levels of government. Mr. Speaker, Senator Morango and the team that was working on this has created a matrix indicating the kind of license and the entity that shall levy it. And I'm glad that there's that clarity, what the county governments shall levy, what the national government shall levy, and what the capital markets shall levy. Mr. Speaker, we must tie this to warehouse receipts. Senator Fonandi has talked about violent robbery, within that space. If our warehouse receipting system was working effectively, it would provide good, proper storage for the finished product so that farmers do not have to be under stress to, investing in a high level of security to ensure that they're not stolen. Mr. Speaker, let me finalize by, again, congratulating the team that was in mediation, congratulating the primary sponsor of this bill, that finally there is hope that Kenya will come back to the League of Coffee Producers. We have gone places in the 11th Parliament with the then Senator for Meru, Senator Kiraitu Murungi. We went to Costa Rica to see how they do their coffee. And Mr. Speaker, the interesting thing is that the Costa Ricans, they told us they learned their coffee production from Kenya. And here we were, going to Costa Rica to see how they do coffee, to see how they do bananas, and to see how they do sugarcane. This country, Kenyans should not settle for less. We have the best brains, we have the best ideas, and God blessed us with wonderful soil, wonderful geography. And that is why our coffee is among the best in the world. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to reply, but I also request, pursuant to Standing Order number 66.3, to defer the putting of the question to a later date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Senator Moses Kajwang, when Chair Morango was the chair agriculture, I remember there's a time he mentioned to me, he whispered that he was on his way to Costa Rica. That was Colombia. And when did Moses Kajwang, Senator Moses Kajwang and my senior Kiraitu go to? Oh, Costa Rica. I think both the countries have a lot of, did a lot of learning from Kenya. But we are still lagging behind. So we go back to your request has been approved to put the question during the next sitting. So clerk, we go to order number, back to order number 10.
Order number 10, the Kenya National Council for Population and Development Bill, National Assembly Bills number 72 of 2023, second reading, resumption of debate, mover to reply.
Okay, if my eyes are serving me well, I think I can see the majority leader is not here to reply, so I still defer that business. We go to order number 13.
Order number 13, motion, consideration of the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by employees of the former Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, KCC, concerning non-payment of outstanding terminal benefits and Maziwa Sacco dues to former employees of Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited.
This motion is to be moved by the Chair, Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. I can see it's not in the House. And honorable senators, when I look at this on the paper, even going to order number 14, 15, 16, 17, the mover is here, but chairing the session, 18, 19, and 20. The owners of all these bills and motions are not in the House. And therefore, I defer this business until the next sitting. Therefore, senators, we can rise. Yes, Senator Murango, you want to say something?
Mstahiki Speaker, najua chenye nataka kuuliza haiko katika ratiba ya leo, lakini nitauliza tu ili uweze kunielekeza. Mstahiki Speaker, nimeona juzi nimeletewa ombi kutoka kwa wanaotumia maji katika eneo la Kirinyaga, wakulima tofauti na pia watu wanaotumia maji manyumbani, kwamba kutokana na zile kanuni ambazo zilipitishwa kutoka kamati inayohusika na kanuni, that delegated legislation, katika jumba la Seneti, taasisi ya Walma imeongeza bei ya maji Kenya nzima. Maji ambayo ilikuwa inalipwa lita 1000 sumni, sasa inalipwa shilingi 2 na sumni, na imewambidi wameelekezwa lazima waweke mita, zile vipimo vya kupima maji upya. Na mbeleni walikuwa nalipa 7500, saa hii ni kutoka kuanzia 180,000 hadi nusu milioni, ambayo wakulima hawezi kumudu. Mstahiki Speaker, kupatia ngamia na mbuzi maji saa hii unafaa uanze kulipia. Kwa hivyo, Mstahiki Speaker, swali ambalo nilikuwa nataka kuuliza, ili utaweza utanielekeza siku ingine ama leo. Inawezekana kwamba hizi kanuni zinapokuja katika bunge la Seneti, kamati inayohusika hata kama imekubaliana na kila kitu, waweze kuleta ripoti, baadhi yetu ambao tuko na wakulima na watu kama hao tuweze kusikiza na kuchangia, kwa sababu ya nafasi hatuna. Asante Mstahiki Speaker.
Bwana Senator Murango, ni vyema ripoti hizo zinaletwa katika nyumba la Seneti. Lakini hii kamati ya delegated legislation huwa nimeona kwa miaka mingi, wakati wanakubaliana na hoja yote wanapitisha bila kurudi kwa nyumba. Wakikataa wanakatalia katika kikao chao na waleti katika bunge. Na mimi naona ni vizuri vile umesema tubandilishe kanuni za Seneti na hasa za bunge lote, sababu vivyo hivyo ndivyo hufanyika katika ile bunge geni la taifa. Ndio ripoti yoyote kama ni kukubaliana na mwenye kuzileta zile kanuni ama kukataa, naona ziwe zinafika katika hii nyumba, ndio tuweze pia kuhusika nazo. Na pia wao wanaenda kwa wananchi, ile tunaita kuhusisha wananchi, public participation. Kama wanapitisha ama wapitishi, iwe inapita katika public participation, sababu nguvu ya kukataa ama kupitisha sheria wamepewa nguvu mingi sana, bila kuhusisha nyumba ama bila kuhusisha wananchi. Kwa hivyo mimi naona naelekeza kwamba baadaye tutaweza kubadilisha kanuni za seneti ndio tuweze kupata hizo ripoti moja kwa moja. Senator Chalige, but I was giving a communication, a very good communication, very accurate.
Just Speaker.
So why are we opening this discussion again? You can see the sergeant at arms are upstanding because I did some communication already. Even the mics are already tired.
No, they are not. I thought they are new, Mr. Speaker. They are new but inefficient, Mr. Speaker.
For the day, because I pronounced
Yes,
that there is
Mr.
no
Speaker.
business.
The sergeant at arms need to relax. They should be at ease until you stand. Mr. Speaker, I agree with your communication, but I just wanted to be specific with those regulations that are in operation in terms of increment of water tariffs. I know you have said under the Instruments Act, everything or all regulations must come to Parliament. Mr. Speaker, you have to appreciate some of the policy makers, including Cabinet Minister, think that Parliament is National Assembly, which is contrary to Article 93, that Parliament is National Assembly and the Senate. Mr. Speaker, maybe just so that I agree with your direction, but in addition, these three regulations, like Water Services Regulation 2025, Legal Notice number 54, Water Harvesting and Storage Regulation 2025, Legal Notice number 57, Water Resources Regulation 2021, Legal Notice number 58. Speaker, if as you give direction, if they can bring this specifically, it would be very important because you know, Speaker, water is life. And if the increment of water goes up, Mr. Speaker, you see, even you saw in Uasin Gishu County government the other day, they increased water by 100% because of this regulation. So if you are paying 200 shillings, you ended up paying 2,000. And you saw the protest when there was in Gishu County government through Eldoret Water and Sanitation Company, increased water, Mr. Speaker. Water is one of the commodities that should be free, clean, and available to each and every Kenyan, Mr. Speaker. So the only thing in this country looks like that the price cannot go up is only salt, because everything is going up. But on this, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your guidance and your experience that the chair of delegated legislation, Senator Gataya, should be directed to come with the, I know Senator Kajwang understands this, and of course Murango, that if these regulations are enforced, the committee, Mr. Speaker, through your guidance, has power to declare it null and void and unenforceable within the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your Solomonic direction. We stand guided, but kindly, on behalf of Kenyans, on behalf of the great people of Meru, the Njurin Jeke who gave you mate and everything, please stand with Kenyans. I yield back, Mr. Speaker.
Last but not the last, Senator Moses Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, you have made a very, very profound communication on this particular matter of statutory instruments. Mr. Speaker, I've always told my friend Senator Gataya that he chairs perhaps the most powerful committee in this House, the most powerful committee, because it's his committee that is supposed to go through statutory instruments. And for avoidance of doubt, Mr. Speaker, statutory instrument means any rule, order, regulation, direction, form, tariff of costs or fees, letters patent, commission, warrant, proclamation, bylaw, resolution, guideline, or other statutory instrument issued, made, or established in the execution of a power conferred by or under an act of Parliament, under which that statutory instrument or subsidiary legislation is expressly authorized to be issued. Mr. Speaker, subsidiary legislation is now becoming more than primary legislation. And what I called earlier, the laziness of legislatures across the Commonwealth. And Mr. Speaker, I know when you go for meetings of the Commonwealth and the IPU, you will hear of this trend of legislators doing skeleton legislation and leaving subsidiary legislation to ministers and to people who head regulatory bodies. Mr. Speaker, I just want to request that, as you have advised, that we could amend Section 15 of the Delegated Legislation Act, because, Mr. Speaker, Section 15, and we must not impute any improper motive on the chair of that committee. The Act does not oblige him to bring a report back to the House, Mr. Speaker, as you have rightly stated, and that is in Section 15. So you could advise that we relook at Section 15. The second thing that we have not resolved, Mr. Speaker, is when the two houses disagree on a regulation. Mr. Speaker, when the two houses disagree on a regulation, and we have had this, the regulations on this other fund, what do we call this other fund for marginalization? The regulations and the marginalization fund, Mr. Speaker. We had a case
similar to equalization fund.
Sorry, equalization fund. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. There was a situation where the two houses were having different views on it. We have had cases where the National Assembly takes view X on a regulation, Senate takes view Y. We have no proper mechanisms for mediation. That is something that we could also deal with. And finally, where a regulation-making authority delays in bringing regulations to this House, what do we do to them? So, Mr. Speaker, this is profound, and the fact that we have established that almost every other regulation needs to come to Parliament, which means the Senate and National Assembly, makes this House a powerful House, and we must support our brothers and sisters in that committee with the necessary amendments. Because, Mr. Speaker, you wake up and you hear that the tariffs on the expressway have just changed overnight. You wake up, you hear that tariffs on water have just changed overnight. No taxation without representation. That was the basic principle upon which certain civilizations were established. So, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to congratulate your direction and maybe to challenge the committee to look at these additional points on subsidiary legislation.
I think, Senators, that was a very good, what Senator Murango requested to be advised is a good one. And you know the state departments, our parastatals, are sneaking their legislations, their regulations through the delegated legislation committee. Like now they are sitting on a very, very dangerous policy or regulations, Senator Morango, on tea levies. They are adding more levies on tea. And the committee insists on that matter. There is no public participation. There is nothing is happening. If the committee agrees with them, then tomorrow farmers will be levying that levy. So I think we must open this matter and also to make sure that the delegated legislation is helped to make the right decisions, and involving this House and also involving members of the public in accepting the policies and the regulations coming from the executive. So, honorable senators, let us rise. Honorable senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 18th February 2026 at 9:30 a.m.